You see, the most paramount consideration when we work in the community is always about the children, the younger people. What is the standard that we set for them? We try to teach children that if you have a grievance, if you have a dispute, come together, try to bring a resolution. We see the killing, the gun, the knife before. We're seeing disputes, grievances amongst younger people, and we're seeing how they feel they have to deal with the resolution. Oftentimes it's pressing that button of destruction. What examples are we setting as big people, as leaders? What example are we setting? What example do we set for dealing with grievances, disputes, and bringing a resolution? Greetings. Today's program, the whistleblower treatment. This is the Nubian Beat. We're straight to the point. Community news. You know, recently we had a notice posted on the WhatsApp, community WhatsApp groups concerning Lewsey Farm Learning Centre. Yes, very important centre. As to some, it is referred to as possibly the last centre that black people or Afro-Caribbean people have access to. Nonetheless, the notice went round and it reads, quotes, "Look how we had a good Lewsey Farm Learning Centre, the nearest thing to a community centre for black people, and we've lost it. We've lost it because of arms house, personal feuding, and not being able to get along and sort things out properly as black people." It goes on to read, "Always arguing and complaining and plotting against each other. We end up with no assets." It reads, "I hope and pray we can get together and get a building that the black community can lead and can use for our people." End of quote. Now this notice rang alarms for many of us in the community, especially for many members who are also members of the Lewsey Farm Learning Centre Trust, which includes myself. I'm a member. You know, doing works and doing drumming workshops in the community, and people have been wondering, you know, even now with the COVID-19, when things will be starting. Nonetheless, reading this notice rang alarms for myself, and I needed clarification. I wasn't aware of it. Wasn't aware of, in fact, who put the notice up. So, as we do in most cases, we try to get some clarification, some verification as to whether this is another set of false news, or is there something going on that people need to know about. On today's program, we have what I would know to be as the current elected chairperson here to shed some light on what's happening on the Lewsey Farm Learning Centre, known to many as Elroy Edwards, also known affectionately to some as the Fantastic Silver Fox. He has doing many things in the community. I want to say greetings, welcome, straight to the point.
Greetings.
You know, again, the first thing, there's a lot of things they were trying to find out and understand and overstand and people. And the first thing is, again, was the notice. This notice that went around. Your response to that notice and what can you tell us about that notice?
When I saw that notice on WhatsApp, what came to my mind is some of it, I like the way it was phrased, but at the same time, people ought to know the truth. Mm-hmm. Because when people don't know the truth, it seems as if there's arms house, mm-hmm. or there's two sides of people, yes, bickering and warring or disagreeing, when really there is a truth and there is a lie. And I came to the conclusion that the community has to know the facts, mm-hmm. because a lot of the facts nobody knows. They're just going by what's been told.
And I know in relation to the facts, we know something very serious. There was a serious incident happened at this centre, which it seems to have triggered all this off. An incident that happened on the 24th of October 2019 that involved £200 going missing from the Lewsey Farm Learning Centre. Is that true? And what can you tell us about that?
Yes, £200 went missing out of my wallet, and the the outgoing chair, Roy Ferran, brought in a painter. The painter is the son of the lady who he lived with for over 30 years. Some would say stepson. So he brought the painter in, and on this day I was moving over money from one wallet to the next. I had ordered a new wallet and it got delivered to the center. So I'm moving over some money from the old wallet to the new wallet. And I sat on the chair, and it is, by the way, all of this is on video. I sat on the chair and I moved the money over, and there was a lot of bits and pieces of paper left in the old wallet. I wasn't going to move it over to the new one. So I was going to shred it, and I took it back to the office and began shredding it. And while I was shredding it, I saw this person, the painter, looking towards me.
So you saw this on a camera, or
no? He was actually looking.
Right. Okay.
But at the time, I wasn't even thinking about. I left the wallet on the chair, and I continued shredding. And when I came back, the painter was missing, and I still hadn't realized then that money was missing out of my wallet. And it's when I looked and I saw that I had left the wallet on the chair, and I'm thinking, how could I have done that knowing that someone else was in the hall, right? So I ran to the wallet, and as I took it up and I looked in, I realized that money is missing. And when I counted it, £200 was out. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, what am I going to do? Or am I going to prove that this guy take £200 out of my wallet? So I said, okay, there's a video in the hall that I got installed to oversee the table tennis sessions.
Okay.
So that you know, when you're working with youngsters, because of safety,
yes,
you got to have everything covered, right?
Yes.
So I went to the CCTV control in the office, and as many times I tried to view things that happen, and I was not able to do it.
Okay.
Generally, I had to call the guy who installed, but I'm thinking this gonna take. Whenever I call him, is always 2 days time, and I'm thinking I can't wait 2 days time. So I start playing around. I saw the clip. I saw him taking the money out of my wallet and running off. And I called the chair. It was a chair at the time, Roy Ferran. I said to him, Roy, the painter took £200 out of my wallet. And you know what Roy said to me? He said, have you got any proof? I said, yes, I have proof. And what I did, and it's a lucky thing I've done this, I used my phone and recorded it off the CCTV.
Okay, alright.
And I sent it to him. And when he viewed it, he said, yeah, sorry this happened. I'm going to try and phone him. He tried to call him, his phone was off. I tried to call him also, his phone was off. So Roy came to the office now to see me, and he said to me, hey Roy, I'm sorry, and I'm going to pay you back. Now, what came to my mind, I'm thinking, he should pay me back, not you. So I said to him, whatever you do, don't pay me out of the trust money, meaning the money the trust have in the bank.
Oh, that's very, yes, very crucial.
I clearly stated that to him,
yes.
right? And in the in the meetings, the meetings that I called, he actually accepted word for word everything that I said. Right? It's in the minutes of one of the meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did clearly tell him, don't pay me out of the trust money. He said, no, I'm going to pay you out of the money that the trust was supposed to pay him for painting the building. It still turned out to be the trust money.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then he said one more thing to me, and this is what got me. He said to me, whatever you do, please don't tell the rest of the trustees. Now, I looked on that in many different ways. If he can say something like that to me, not to tell the rest of the trustees, in my mind, I find that very dangerous. But I didn't reply to it then, because I got to think in my head, what am I going to do? Right? And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to cover myself because things have a way of getting out, going around, and then you're a part of something that you shouldn't have been a part of. So I said, what I did, I sent a copy of the video from my phone and WhatsApp. I sent a copy to one of the trustees that I'm very close to. I sent a copy to the receptionist, the lady at the receptionist, because she works, she's there every day. She got her bags hanging around. So I had to make her aware that the painter is a thief, right? And I sent a copy to my dad, my mom and my dad, for security. That's if I've lost it, I've got people who can back me up. So that's what I did. And a few weeks after, I decided that I'm going to send, and it's important that I send a copy to the treasurer. The treasurer was somebody that the trust look up to. He is very legally inclined. So I sent him a copy, and I've got the messages on my phone, my WhatsApp. And what he said to me is this. He said, I will have to consider. No, he asked me if Roy paid me back. I said, yes, he did. He said, was it money? Where did he get the money from? I says, well, it's the trust money that's supposed to pay the painter. So he said, it's still the trust money. It should never have come from the trust. So he said to me, he's going to action it when you return. Remember, you know, we all have the same power, but as I said, he's legally inclined. So we generally listen to the treasurer. So he said, we will all have to consider my integrity. You hear that? You have to consider my integrity and Roy long-standing role at the trust. I says, wow. Wow. And he came back and it was never action. It was never action. They wanted to deal with a different case where I was locked out of a file by Mr. Ferron, and we dealt with that case, and he slightly mentioned that there was a theft, but it wasn't action.
And the culprit himself, you know, because there was a stage, you know, that you approached the culprit himself. How was his response? The painter. The
painter response was, he's sorry and he shouldn't have done that. And he didn't know that there was camera. He didn't realize that there was camera watching him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I know. So it's interesting that the course of action that the treasurer had taken. And is it correct to say that there was an AGM also coming up around this time?
Yes, there were plans being made for an AGM, but before that, I noticed that the behavior of the trustees, the management committee towards me was different. Where I was being sidelined, I wasn't being invited to meetings. They had meetings to do with the finance, and at the time I was the secretary.
Okay.
And I wasn't invited to this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So from that I realized that I've been sidelined. I've opened my mouth. I shouldn't have said. I should not speak about the missing money.
Mm-hmm. So what is this concerning? Because to the extent I'm very concerned, trying to sound that your contract already starting to be frustrated, but concerned a file that you had set up and then you're going in now and you realise that you were actually locked out of a file. What was that about? Is that some?
In short, I was an acting centre manager.
Mm-hmm.
I was a secretary. I was a cleaner. I was the receptionist. I was any and everything that was required for the centre to function. Because the centre lost 2 centre managers in 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
The centre had no money to employ another centre manager. And the question was asked, who's going to step up and make the centre survive?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I will.
Mm-hmm.
And someone says, yeah, but Elroy, I don't know a lot about the running of a centre, etc. Which they were correct.
Mm-hmm.
And Roy, no. So
Mm-hmm.
me and Roy step up to be joint centre manager to operate the centre.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, I changed a lot of things. They used to do bookings by paperwork, and I decided to create a booking form online, well, on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I went, this is after I made the complaint to the treasurer. I went to I was nominated for Sporting Inspiration for my service to table tennis in Luton. And I went to this, it was a Friday, I went to this this nomination, and I came second. I was runner-up, Sporting Inspiration of Luton, a service to table tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back the Saturday to the centre, and as I went on the booking form, I noticed I was locked out of the booking form. So I phoned the receptionist and I says, what happened to the booking form? He says, oh, Roy said I should put a lock on it to keep me out of the booking form. And I find that very strange.
Because?
I find it strange because it was created by myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm the secretary of the trust.
Mm-hmm.
Joint centre manager. Right. It's all in paperwork, so I'm not creating all these things. I've got proof of all this. And why am I locked out?
Mm-hmm.
So,
is this what led to, because obviously there was plans for an AGM to be happening, and yet prior to that, just before that, you called an emergency meeting?
Yes. So what happened is, because I noticed the treatment that I was getting, it was unfavorable,
mm-hmm.
right? We know what's happening. I know, I can see, I can feel. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided we me and him, we had a disagreement in a WhatsApp group. And I realized in the WhatsApp group, they were all defending him for something which he was wrong about, something which he didn't explain. It's all in the WhatsApp. He didn't explain the truth. It's half truth. And it's like they're attacking me.
And that's in the WhatsApp group?
That's in the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you, you know, if I was who I am, I would have been intimidated.
Was that the emergency meeting now?
This is what caused the emergency meeting. So, I decided, okay, this is what's happening. The management committee is a small little group of Roy's friends. I'm going to call an emergency meeting and invite everyone who, remember, we haven't had a proper meeting for 2 years. That's how the chair was running the centre. It was all within the management committee, so the wider trustees didn't know what was happening, right? So I called an emergency meeting, and in the emergency meeting, this was on the 1st of February, yeah, the 1st of February. I make it known to all the trustees about the money that was stolen out of my wallet.
Right, okay.
And not just that.
So it was at this meeting?
Yes.
In the presence of all trustees?
All trustees.
Okay.
Because a lot of the trustees didn't know. Right? So I made it known to every trustees about the £200. But not just that. This is vital. There's £3,000 worth of missing receipts.
So this was also highlighted?
That was highlighted.
Okay.
And that even became a bigger issue than the £200. Because the card is in Roy's name.
Okay, exclusively?
Exclusively in his name. Right? It shouldn't have happened, but it was in his name. He's the only one who can use the card. He doesn't have to let you know what he bought. It was never done. He just buy and he goes about his business. Nobody has to verify anything, right? Because he's the chair, right? And so I made it known that there is over £3,000 worth of missing receipts. And it was shocking to everybody. And in that meeting, he accepted, it's in the minutes.
Responsibility.
He accepted all responsibility. He accepted everything I said word for word. It's in the minutes. It's in the minutes of the meeting. And he accepted misappropriation of funds.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting, yes.
And he was told never to stand again as a chair or stand as any position on the board.
Do we know if this was all minuted?
Yeah, it's all minuted.
Okay.
He was told not to stand for any position. However, because of his long-standing role, he can be he can be a key holder.
Okay.
Right? Of which there were people who wasn't agree with that he should never be, because of what he's done.
Yes.
Yeah. And they kind of was brushing it off as, you know, a little tap on the wrist. And I says, it's not as simple as that.
But this is the AGM meeting, isn't it? Or is it?
No, this is the
emergency
this
meeting.
Still the emergency meeting.
Okay.
And we're also planning for the AGM.
Okay.
So they asked me a question. They says, Elroy, what would you want to happen to Mr. Ferran? I said to them, you know what? Let me think about it. So this was a Saturday.
Yep.
The following meeting was supposed to be the Thursday. That's what they're gonna do. We understand. I was the meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. I've got it in the minutes, right? It was scheduled for 7 p.m. I was at the Lewsey Farm Learning Centre because I run a table tennis club also. I'm there every day. And even if I'm not doing table tennis, I'm dealing with the business of the centre. And I'm expecting a meeting at 7 p.m. At 6 p.m. I saw everyone turning up, these guys. And I'm saying, what are you here for? And he says, the meeting. I says, it's in the minutes that the meeting is 7 p.m. No, it's not, it's 6 p.m. And, you know, one of the trustees was actually being aggressive. And I'm saying, this can't be right. What are you trying to do? Cook up something? That was my exact words to him. And he says, no, I'm not trying to cook. It's 6 p.m. I says, no, it's 7, it's in the minutes. So they went to the room, and I'm thinking, something is up. This is not, something is up.
Because originally this meeting is supposed to be about what?
It was about what discipline they was going to give to Roy. That's what the meeting was about, what they're going to do with Roy.
Right. As a result, obviously, the misappropriation of the funds.
As a result of misappropriation of funds. And he was also told he's got to find those missing receipts.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So I found someone who used to work for Luton Borough Council, and I explained the situation, and they said to me, this don't sound good, Fox, but you have to go to this meeting, because if you don't go to the meeting, they're going to make decision, and it's best to make decision while you're in the meeting. And I'm thinking, something is up. So I phoned a lady. She knows a lot about meetings, and she was also a previous chair
person. Okay.
Yes.
For the centre.
For the centre. And she wanted to be in the meeting.
Okay.
But obviously they didn't want her in the meeting because she was in support of me. She was against what Roy has done and thought that Roy should just step down immediately and just go, and you understand. So she was vital to this meeting for me, but they didn't want her to be in the meeting. So remember, you know, I'm very new to board meeting and the runnings of all the intricacy of these things. You understand? So they've got stuff over me where it coming to that. You understand?
This is the reason, again, why it's very important for people to understand the power of having a constitution which sets down procedure, which sets down special procedures when you have a dispute, you have a grievance, you're looking for a resolution. The constitution has a procedure for that, you know, and so we're very concerned about, you know, especially when people embark upon being leaders and got all good intentions, and people would use it on a psychology to try and manipulate situations. But do not underestimate that when their problem does go wrong, which often sometimes it does, it's right back to the constitution.
Yes. So I phoned this lady, and I says, listen, because I wanted her to be in the meeting.
Because she was obviously very vocal.
She's very vocal, and she knows how things supposed to be. So I phoned her, and she was very upset. Anyway, she says, Elroy, I'm going to try and be there. I went to speak. The person I phoned before said to me, go in the meeting and ask them to postpone the meeting
Okay.
for another day. I went in and I asked them, and they says, no, we are not going to postpone it.
Okay.
It says, anyway, what this is, we're going to be talking to you separately, and we're going to be talking to Roy separately. And I'm thinking, why is this? It says, oh, something comes up. So we remember this was supposed to be about Roy.
Yes.
Nothing to do with me, right? So I says, okay. They spoke to Roy on his own, and then they're ready to speak to me now. I went in and I began speaking to them. And they had a paper, anonymous complaint.
That was sent in to the trust?
No, it was sent in to,
Who received that?
I think it was the Delhi, the treasurer.
The treasurer, okay.
Yeah, it's an anonymous complaint. All of a sudden, there is an anonymous complaint about me. 2 years helping the trust to survive, and it's very important to say that. I was working without pay. I worked for 2 years without pay. We made a deal that for the help I'm giving them, they can't afford to pay me, so they will allow me to develop table tennis.
Okay.
Yes, and that's that's the deal we made, and it's in the minutes, right? It wasn't a signed deal, but the rest of trustees are aware of it, and they've accepted it, right? So in 2 years, I've never had a complaint against me. I've never had anything against me. But because now I've made, I brought certain things to light, and now they got to deal with the outgoing chair, Mr. Ferran. Now there's a anonymous letter. So I says, okay. So the meeting start, and I saw what the anonymous complaint was, and I kind of laughed, because at worst it was procedural stuff. Yeah, and I sat there and listened to them. I started telling them my story about the money, and the door opened and the lady stepped in, and the entire meeting changed. And they were all in my favor. They were all saying the right things. And I can remember the assistant chair says they would like me and Roy to work things out, because Roy is in trouble, and now they got something on me. We're gonna be out of a chairperson. So they want me and him to go away and work things out.
So this was a suggestion for you and the chairperson.
Yes, but what? So basically
to remedy the matter between the
they got the anonymous letter to remedy the situation, so that I cannot pass judgment on the chair. So I said to them, no.
Yeah, well that's it. Yeah, the anonymous letter is not carrying no weight.
I says no. I'm not going to do that. And the lady spoke in my favor and says, Roy has got to go. Misappropriation of funds is serious. Over £3,000 worth of missing receipts. That's very serious.
No, yeah, these are gross.
Plus previously, 2 years before, there was over £2,000 worth of missing receipts. So it's a continuous thing.
Okay.
So she took it very serious. And the assistant chair says, we cannot get rid of Roy. He's been here too long. So their concern was about that, and not about me. Anyway, I told them my opinion.
They should have been more concerned, in my view, about the Constitution. So more than even about the individual, because this is what the whole thing stands upon. And sometimes people end up assuming that it's about protecting people who have been there, and it's nothing personal against anybody, but the Constitution is there for a reason. Procedures are there for a reason. If there's gross misconducts, there are procedures there to deal with that, and people should be, the committee members, etc., should be upholding that, because otherwise, you're endorsing, you're aiding and abetting, and you're endorsing unlawful behaviour, which also could imply criminal investigation. So it's very crucial when the Constitution, the procedure laid down in constitutions are deliberately ignored. It's something not to be taken lightly.
Yes. One thing that the treasurer did say is that I am the victim. Roy is not the victim. I'm the victim. You understand? So that was it. That was good. And so the meeting came to an end. So I got to go away now.
But before this meeting came to an end, was there an element which involved your tennis club being under scrutiny? Or was that another?
That was in another meeting.
Okay.
That was in another meeting, and we left it at that. So me and him, they still left it that me and him should come to an arrangement.
Yes.
I refused to. I've written them back an email, which I've got a copy of the email, and in the email I said to them that I'm not going to compromise. I will defend my integrity. I will defend it on social media. I will defend it in the court, and I will defend it behind closed doors. So I pointed that out to them in the meeting, and in an email to them, which I've got a copy of the email. No, so that chapter closed, and the planning now is for the AGM. And
24th of February 2020.
Yes, the AGM now was the AGM was the 29th of February.
29th.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, 29th.
Yeah. So the AGM is in planning now, and I'm the secretary of the trust, so I got to do my bit. The receptionist is helping, and we had someone who was doing voluntary from school. They were sending out invites, etc., etc. And as it came close to the AGM, a message was dropped in the WhatsApp group, and the message goes something like this. I mean, I've got it.
Yes.
But I will just tell you what it goes like.
Yes.
It goes, anyone who has anything hanging over them should not put themselves forward to be elected on the board, or they will be embarrassed. Right? Oh, I took that as me.
Okay.
Because when they come up with the anonymous letter, that is to shut me out. And they sent the letter to Hazel Simmons, the email. They put it in an email form and asked the receptionist to send it to Hazel Simmons. Why it was sent to Hazel Simmons? Because
an anonymous letter sent to him.
No, the email that anyone who has anything hanging over them shouldn't put themselves forward. They sent it to Hazel Simmons. Hazel Simmons is the leader of Luton Borough Council.
Who sent that email? Do they know who the email come from?
The chair asked it to be sent to Hazel Simmons. It was directed by the chair to send it. And Hazel Simmons, I was in the office when I got a phone call, and the phone call came from Hazel. Firstly, the reason why it's sent to Hazel, because the chair was going to step down, and he was told that he shouldn't apply for any other position because of what he had done. So you're going to need someone to, when he steps down, you need someone to take over until a new chair is appointed.
Yes.
So Hazel Simmons phoned the centre and she says, I said, this is Elroy. He says, listen, I've got an email. I've been instructed how to run the AGM. This is not how our AGM should be run. Whatever problems you guys have should have been sorted out long before the AGM. And she will come to the centre an hour early to have a talk with us. And he said, she said to me, I will also phone Roy to tell Roy this is not how an AGM is supposed to run. Right? In the evening, when Roy came back to the centre, Roy said, I was in the office, and Roy said to the receptionist, I told them it wouldn't have worked. I've got evidence of that. The receptionist will back me up on that one. He said, I told them it wouldn't work. And all this time I'm feeling good.
What wouldn't work?
That to say anybody who has anything hanging over them cannot put themselves forward. Because now they come up with an anonymous letter, I mustn't put myself forward. Do you understand? So I felt good about what Hazel Simmons said at the time. And the AGM took place the next day. This was a Friday, and the AGM took place, and I was elected chair. Okay. And at that time I had no, until the day I did not have any, I wasn't thinking about running as chair.
Who elected you as chair?
The members. I was voted in 14 votes, Lawrence Palmer 1 vote, Philip 8 votes. I am the elected chair. The elected vice chair is Lawrence Palmer 14 votes, Eddie Graff got 8 votes. And the secretary, Kit 10 votes, Carla Answer 13 votes. So Carla is the secretary, the vice chair is Lawrence Palmer, myself is the current chair. Or so it should be.
This was lawfully, democratically implemented, according to the Constitution.
It was.
Was there any objections at the time?
No, there was no objection.
Because you have the leader of the council there.
And Tom Shaw.
And you have Tom Shaw also present.
Also present.
Bearing witness.
Yes.
As to what is happening.
And this is what it says. It says the chair and the secretary should stay in their new posts. David, which is David Barraclough, who was the assistant treasurer. David asked to stay on as treasurer until AGM part 2. And Mr. Tom Shaw offered his assistance and will meet with the new chair, which is myself, to discuss the future of the centre.
That's very good. Excellent. That's very good. Did that happen?
Did not happen.
Do you know why it didn't happen? Was there any communication explaining up to now why it didn't happen or it hasn't happened?
What happened is the COVID kicked in.
Okay.
And when the COVID kicked in, I'm not sure about the date, but I've got all the facts somewhere. When the COVID kicked in, it was in May.
May 2020, yeah.
They seized the building. The secretary, the
previous chair,
and
the vice chair,
the vice chair,
the vice secretary.
The vice secretary.
Are you saying they all what? Unlawfully took control?
Took control over the building. They were asking the receptionist for all passwords. and etc.
And again, to the extent, so Company House, what did they go as far as making
Yes.
any adjustments on the website?
They've taken my name off either Company House or Charity Commission. I'm not 100% certain I was on both, even though I was playing a part as a secretary. But they've taken my name off one of them. My name as the chair hadn't yet been implemented to Company House because straight after the AGM, as it read, Tom Shaw and Hazel will act as advisor until another AGM can be held. So we were waiting.
There was a postponement, yes?
Adjourned.
Adjourned, okay.
It's very important,
yes,
because Tom Shaw wanted to ignore it and start again.
He wanted to postpone it.
Yes.
Right.
And a gentleman stood up and said, no, it cannot be postponed.
Adjourned it.
It has to be adjourned.
Okay.
And who were elected has got to stay in place.
So up until that point, yourself therefore elected as chair.
Yeah.
And Lawrence Palmer vice chair.
Vice chair.
That had to stay in place.
Well, yes. Well, Tom Shaw had an objection to Lawrence Palmer.
Was that objection made?
There was no objection made in the meeting.
In the minute.
To say you cannot be, but in his words he said the chair and the secretary has to stay in their new posts. You understand?
Yeah. Is this the minutes?
This is the minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when was this said? At the AGM?
Yes, this was said at the AGM. But Tom Shaw doesn't run the AGM.
Yes.
Tom Shaw doesn't run the trust. Tom Shaw is just an overseer of from Luton Borough Council. He has no jurisdiction no power
over the people's democratic vote.
Over a democratic vote. Right? So this is what they did. And they had no contact with me, as it said in the meeting that they will liaise with me. But the COVID kicked in, and as I said, the COVID kicked in, and they decided they're going to use the opportunity to seize the centre, and that is what they've done.
And apparently, there's been a big standoff, especially since May, as we're hearing scenarios concerning locks being trying to be changed at the centre. Is this true?
Yes. What happened is, obviously, they were sending messages to the receptionists about passwords, etc. And I think they did contact me. They contacted me about something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I've got it in my notes. Okay. I've got it on the phone. So there and then I said to myself, I know what they're going to do. They're going to change the locks. So the morning I drove to the centre. And when I drove to the centre, and I opened the door to go in, I spot the chair, Roy Ferron, the outgoing chair. I'm the chair, so the outgoing chair, Mr. Ferron was there with a carpenter. And straight away I just knew what was going to happen. I walked over to the carpenter and I says, listen, it's illegal for you to change any locks. I'm the chair and I've never given any permission for the locks to be changed. And he says, you know what, I don't want to get involved in this. I'm out of this. And then I saw an official locksmith turned up. You know those locksmiths, they got the van there, an official locksmith. And I went over to him and I says, listen, this cannot be, you cannot change the locks. And by then I had a few people turned up who knew of the situation, so they came to support me. And while we were there discussing we were discussing the terms of the Constitution, that what they're doing is wrong. You cannot remove a sitting chair without going through procedures.
Yes.
I've never answered to anything.
Oh.
They've never.
That is quite serious.
I've never been to a meeting to answer anything they've got against me. And remember, this thing they got against me is because it was an anonymous.
Yeah.
That just popped out because
allegation
because of what I said about the chair.
Yeah.
So there was a person there who was educating them on these type of issues, and police turned up. 2 female police officers turned up and says, "You've got to leave the building. You're not supposed to be here." I says, "I'm the chair." He says, "But we've been told you are not the chair." I says, "Who told you so?" They said, "It's the secretary. The secretary's got control of the building." So I says, "No, I am the chair." So I show them this.
Is that the minutes?
That's the minutes of the AGM, and I show them that I'm the chair.
Lawfully the chair.
The vice chair is Lawrence Palmer, who was also in the building, and the secretary is there. The secretary who the one who related these information to the police. So they wouldn't listen to me, and I'm trying to talk to, and I called them into an office, in one of the rooms, and I sat them down and I said, "Listen, I am the chair." And I told them the reason why all this thing popped up and kicked off. And I even made them aware that the theft from a wallet, I already reported it to the police. And I've got a crime number. I showed them the crime number, and I educated them on why everything is happening. And this is okay. So we don't know who is the chair. We don't know who's got control of the building. So this is what's going to happen. You, until the AGM, the second part of the AGM, no one is allowed to change the locks.
Okay.
No one is allowed to be here throughout this COVID, the COVID crisis.
Okay.
The AGM, the second part of the AGM has got to take place before any lock change.
Okay. Was that the case in reality?
No,
did that happen?
It was the case. The locks were changed.
Who gave the authority to change the locks?
Well, from what I've heard, the authority came from the council.
Okay.
Yeah. That's and the only 2 persons who were involved is Asa Simmons and Sam Shaw.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And considering that now the locks have been changed, because additional to everything else, we know you spend many great time helping young people, especially the Luton Tennis Club. The Luton Tennis Club. Yeah. And that has had so much, many success stories with that club, especially with the younger generation, the intergenerational bridging also between the younger and the older generation, as well as crossing those boundaries, colour, class, creed, all those boundaries. How has that been affected?
Well, COVID kicked in, so and up to this day, centres are not fully open back yet. So the COVIDs, while this was going on and all the plotting and planning behind the scenes, we are in the COVID crisis. But whenever there's an open up, I would run sessions from I-Town Community Centre. Okay. Yes, and there was a time I contacted the council and I sent them a contract. I got a copy of a contract. This is the agreement, and the agreement says this agreement was done 10th of February 2016 for the foreseeable future. So I sent them this contract, And this contract is still binding, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? I sent them the contract and I says, I've got to get back in. So they asked me to do a COVID plan, which I did. I didn't get any respond. No one responded to me after I sent in the COVID plan. And to be fair, after I sent in the COVID plan, there was another shutdown. So, but I've heard nothing since. Yeah.
Serious, and again, always very much concerned about the children. Youngsters' welfare is always the most paramount consideration. Yeah. So therefore, in your view, what is damaging the club?
What's damaging the club now mainly is the councillors, Luton councillors. That's the biggest damage to the club. Because they say they was gonna oversee things, they was gonna work with me, but now they're working against me. And I can tell you this, I had a meeting at the council last year, August 2020, and I was in that meeting only because I heard there was going to be a meeting. And I contacted them and says, how can you have a meeting and the chair is not present? So I was invited to the meeting, and I also stated that I don't want to come on my own. I want to bring my sister with me. Because this is a situation where I need proof and evidence. And my sister was present at the meeting, and we discussed the auditing of the accounts, and they said she was going to, Asia Simmons said she was going to send me minutes of the meeting, and when the audited account finished, there was going to be a plan to the AGM. I'm waiting to this day. All I've heard is that there's been 2 meetings behind the scene, 2 meetings where people were asked to keep it private, it's confidential, right? So I don't supposed to know about this meeting. But however, when I heard this, I phoned Tom Shaw and I said, Tom Shaw, what's happening? And he says, oh, there's a meeting, but it's only people who is on company house, who is on charity commissioner should be on the website. I says, but Tom Shaw, I am the chair. I was elected. And he says, oh, I'm just going by what he said. So I left it at that. Which
is, again, like we say, a very serious situation, because again, we're looking at a body and a trust that is governed by a constitution, and when you get a situation whereby the majority of the members are electing a chair or electing new councillors in position, and somehow, 2 councillors who may not like those chosen people can somehow overturn, then we need to understand how that's done, because I myself was there, I voted as a member, and I bear witness to the procedure, the constitutional procedure, and if that's been overturned, the members, we need to know how that was done. The people then need to know how that was done, because the people then elected their chair and their vice chair, and all of a sudden it's not recognised what procedure was used, to make that void. And this is very serious, because we said the situation, it's a point of law now that we're concerned with, because there can be abuse, and the investigation does need to be thorough, because if we're looking at, you've got errors that do occur, but when you have intentional and premeditated things going on to do wrong and to commit what could be considered a crime, this is why again the investigation is crucially important. Oftentimes we do find and we do learn that evil is allowed and corruption is allowed to constantly perpetuate because people keep quiet. and good people keep quiet, and yet somehow everybody's concerned for the welfare of the younger generation. Everybody's concerned for the welfare of the children, and allowing evil to perpetuate. You know, it's like we say, it's quite a sad state of affair. We are do hoping that it is a long way to go, because many people are concerned in how two elected representatives of the trust can be overturned. Because as far as we know, Mr. Edwards was elected the official chairperson, and all of a sudden now there is confusion. And at the time there was no objection, because when you understand the procedure, if somebody is nominated and second and third, etc., and there is time and there is room for objections. We have council members in there, nobody objected, the minutes was there, which also shows and verifies that there was no objections. So what happened? How is it now that we are now hearing that the elected representatives are no longer elected? What procedure was used to change that? That is very important. In your own experience and in your own, has the councillors then displayed what some may call, favoritism, prejudice, even discrimination against you? How would you define what you've gone through?
Listen, I've written a letter to Asia Simmons, an email of which I've got no answer, and in it I stated discrimination, I stated favoritism, I stated bias, etc. And it's clear to see, it's clear for everyone to see. And am I disappointed about the evil rifle or the body of people who are working against me? Yes, but not as much as the councillors. And this is why I kept quiet for so long. I kept quiet to allow everything to work out. They wanted it to keep low key, so I says, okay, keep it low key and allow things to work out naturally. But it's not working out. And what you find is, whenever things go this way, you find out that I will end up with the one who get the blame for everything. Mm-hmm. And I refuse. Mm-hmm. I cannot just sit down and not say anything. I've got a young daughter, a 16, a son just turned 17, and I'm teaching them what's right and what's wrong, what they should do and what not to do. And I'm going to sit here, these people who we should look up to, the councillors, and see them doing things that is wrong, things that I know is favoritism. They're not doing the correct, it's like they're not interested in what's right or what's wrong. One important thing Tom Shaw said to me, I was warned by the outgoing chair, that Tom Shaw's got 3 choices for me. And he's saying, if we don't make the right choice, the centre was going to be in problems. I says, what are these 3 choices? So he explained the 3 choices to me. So I had a brief meeting with Tom Shaw, and Tom Shaw said to me, we got 3 choices, and this is very important. Tom Shaw said, number 1, we're going to call the police in to investigate everything. Mm-hmm. Number 2, we're going to leave you guys in place and we're going to work around it. Mm-hmm. Or number 3, we're going to put one of our people in place. Mm-hmm. And in about 6 months everything will sort out. You know what I said to Tom Shaw? And I was very confident in saying, I says, call the police in. And Tom Shaw, who is the councillor who gave me that option, I said, call the police in. And he said to me, no. We can't call the police in. If we call the police in, too many people is going to be involved.
Why would you want the police to come in?
Because I'm clear. I know I haven't done anything wrong in the centre, and I know once the police comes in, if it's a police issue, they will find out who the culprits are. They will see. They will know about the missing receipts, £3,000 worth of receipts. They will know that 2 years before then there was £2,000 worth of missing receipts. Yeah? So they will know all these things.
Which is again is very crucial, because when we're talking about a trust on an organisation, anybody being governed by a constitution, the level of transparency and accountability is something not to be taken lightly. And theft is a crime. You know, taking money in the intention to take something and with the intention of keeping it, you know, the actus reus and the mens rea they make, is a crime. So it's not something to be taken lightly when people, and this is why again why the police may have to, you know, the investigation, we know it's the part one, because it's a very serious matter. You know, we can't be allowing corruption, yes, and aiding and abetting to be carrying on when it's taxpayers' money, it's the people's money, it's not your money. You're elected to represent. There's a procedure, there's a constitution that's there for a reason. When people start to abuse their powers and thinking they're above the law, you know, the constitution is there to get things back to basics.
And I just want to read this out because this is important. This is an email that I've written to Asia Simmons. It's never been answered to. It's on social media, but I want to read it out. I says, hello Asia Simmons, I was made aware of a meeting Tuesday the 6th of the 4th, 2021 by Tom Shaw, to which I was invited. This is total discrimination against me, as you are well aware that I am still the chair of Lewsey Farm Learning Centre. Also, there are other trustees who should have been invited. What is going on is very wrong, and it doesn't reflect well on the councillors present. Because we look up to the councillors should set things straight. The councillors should not display favoritism, prejudice and discrimination. All of this shown in the treatment towards me. A trustee who was voted off the board at the last election was present. A trustee who was guilty of misappropriation of funds was also present. How can this be? There was a previous meeting at the town hall where my sister was present, where my sister attended, and you made it very clear that a follow-up meeting would take place after the audited account is done. I am still waiting for that meeting. It is very disappointing that myself and others weren't invited to the meeting mentioned. We kept very silent throughout this very biased LFLCT escapade, Lewsey Farm Learning Centre Trust escapade, expecting the right thing to be done. Because I'm going to be honest, I did expect the right thing to be done. However, I continue to be sidelined. It is impossible for my continued silence, and I refuse to be treated as a whistleblower, because this is exactly what the whistleblower treatment is. Please can I have a copy of the meeting, and I will be taking this further. I've set up, there's a petition, so I am taking it further, and I won't let this will not rest, because not just that, there is also my character is in question. There's a word for it.
Your reputation also.
Something of character.
Credibility, your good character.
So, but there's a proper word for it, but that will come after. You know. So this will not rest. I didn't get a reply.
Defamation of character.
Defamation of character. There is defamation of character. Right? defamation of character, and I've got all the evidences. So this is not gonna lie just like this. Also, I've got an agreement here to be at the center, and this is serious.
No, well, anything that is going to come to the Constitution is very serious, because again, like I say, if there's an objection to you being elected, then when did the council decide to question your nomination? These things need to be accountable and transparent. Has it ever been put in writing that they don't recognize the elected chair and the elected vice chair? There are procedures surely for doing these things, And you were saying
there are procedures, but also, if you're being accused of something, it's not just about even sending the accusation by email or by letter. The person there has to be a meeting. You got to listen to what the accusation are. You got to answer to the accusation, and then there's got to be, because it's a trust, there's got to be a vote, etc. You don't just send an anonymous letter or come up with
definitely not
with stuff
unless that's in the Constitution. That is the procedure, and you're not going to find that being the situation. We again, we see it's a stage of where there's a grievance.
Yes.
There's a grievance. There is a dispute. What is the procedure for bringing the resolution? It's simple, and these procedures are put down in the Constitution. And what people have to do is go back to the Constitution and see what was followed and what was breached. And whatever was breached, was it intentionally breached? Because if there are intentional breaches going on within the Constitution, you're going to find that these are criminal activities. And that would be very, 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 some serious, definite repercussions on that. So, we do say, again, we do say, for many reasons, you feel like you're being sidelined. Yeah, and again, today's program was called the Whistleblower treatment. And again, but in many instances, you see, the most paramount consideration when we work in the community is always about the children, the younger people. What is the standard that we set for them? We try to teach children that if you have a grievance, if you have a dispute, come together, try to bring a resolution. We see the killing, the gun, the knife before. We're seeing disputes, grievances amongst younger people, and we're seeing how they feel they have to deal with the resolution. Oftentimes it's pressing that button of destruction. What examples are we setting as big people, as leaders? What example are we setting? What example do we set for dealing with grievances, disputes, and bringing a resolution? Straight to the point, Nubian beat. Watch out. Peace.
Thank you.